Today I want to draw a picture of a satellite. These are so very important for us today. So much of our life depends on satellites nowadays. These orbit the Earth and they're used largely for communication. But anyway, I have some footage from a NASA channel showing some scientists that are preparing a satellite and testing all of its functions before they shoot it into space. And I have some photographs of satellites that are in orbit, and I have some pictures of them in motion. And you can see they come in all different shapes and sizes. But no matter what, they all have one thing in common. They have solar collectors that turn the sun's energy into electricity, which they store in batteries and then use to power the equipment. And they also have antennas. That's so they can communicate with each other and also communicate back with people on Earth. And in some of these, you can see the Earth in the background. In particular, I think there's one with North America, and maybe you can see a little bit of the North Pole. And then one other thing is that you can notice how very colorful and pretty these things are. All right, I want to get started with our drawing, and here once again is this example of one I already have drawn, and you can see that it doesn't fit flat across the paper. I've got mine kind of on an angle. I've got the Earth in the background. I may draw that more just of an arc instead of the whole ball for the Earth. Anyway, let's get started with that. We're going to have to do some measuring. Pay very close attention. All that looks complicated, but it's honestly not hard to do. It's easy to do. Alright, we're going to have to do some erasing, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can work with a pencil. Now to start off with, we need to do measuring, and you've got to do it now. Don't wait. Put 3 fingernails right up the edge like this, and make sure your fingernails are on the paper, not back of the paper. And count up 3 fingers, 1, 2, 3, and at the end of this fingernail, put a little dot. Alright, we're going to do the same thing up in this corner. We're going to put 3 fingers. We're going to jump 3 fingers and get your fingernails down on the paper. Make sure your fingernail is on the paper, not over the edge. And put a little dot right there. And don't put it against your finger. Leave white space. Don't crowd it. All right, now we have 2 dots. And what we've got to try to do is put a straight line between them. So I'm going to practice with my finger 4 or 5 times. We'll take a little while to try to get this line straight. First, I draw very, very light. You can barely see that. I'd have to zoom way in, and then I don't know how well you can see it then. Very light until I get it straight, and then I'll darken it in some. So that looks pretty good. Going backwards and forth. That's pretty straight. Not exactly straight, but it's pretty straight. I have to work on it some. Alright, now let's skip down about 2 fingers right here. And look, we're going to go this direction. We're going to make this a right angle. That's when 2 lines meet and form. Well, I won't go into that. But anyway, you go right there and you skip down 2 fingers. And we want this to have a square corner. And I draw very lightly at first. I want this to look like a ruler. That's exactly what I want it to look like. When I get through with this, I want this to look like a ruler that's laid across the paper, only I don't want the lines on it. I don't want the marks on it. Now, I'm going to have to jump down 2 fingers over here. And if these ends aren't perfectly square, that won't matter. Because these could be turned at any different angle, and it really won't matter. Now let's see if we can get a very nice straight light line between these 2. And pretty soon it's going to be time to darken in. Now I'm going to turn this so that this rectangle is kind of flat in front of me like this. And then I'm going to start to work on this middle section stuff. But first we got to divide the solar panels from the spacecraft itself. Alright, let me zoom out a little bit more. I'm going to darken this in very soon, I promise. First I'm going to find the middle. which I think is about right here. And I'm going to put a little dot in the middle of my rectangle, that is. And then I'm going to go, oh, maybe 2 fingers to this side of the dot, and I'm going to put another dot. And then it's through that dot that I'm going to make a line that's going to divide off this solar collector. It makes one rectangle for a solar collector there. And I'm going to go 2 fingers this way, jump 2 fingers. Now you need to measure this. If you're not measuring this, then you're not going to, your satellite's not going to be balanced. Now we have 3 rectangles. These outer 2 are going to be solar collectors. You don't have to darken yours in now. I'll darken mine in just so you can see what we're working with. This is the part I want to work with. Now you should outline yours with black after you get it colored. Unless you have a marker, which most of you probably don't, and if you did, it would be bad because things would get ruined, no doubt. Ruined. All right, let's see. Now for the middle of my satellite, I've got a big circle around that dot. Right there's the dot in the middle. I've got a big circle, and I like that pretty well, so I think I'm going to try to make a big circle around mine. This time I'm going to go this way and put a dot, and I'm going to go down to the bottom and put a dot, and I'm going to make a big letter C, gigantic, very carefully come around, make a letter C. And I'll work on that to try to get it round. Then on this side I want to put a letter D. And you know, it's not going to be perfectly round, but that's alright. It doesn't have to be. And there's a bunch of other stuff there in the middle that I'll just erase. And that's one reason I'm using a pencil, to see if I can get rid of that white out. And then there's these other lines right in here. You can go ahead and erase those. You need a good eraser anytime you're drawing a picture. You need to keep a good eraser on hand, because getting rid of lines is important also. Drawing lines accurately is the most important thing, but if you can't get rid of your mistakes, then it's going to make it hard to keep your picture neat. And neat is very, very important. All right, there's my satellite. Basic 3 shapes for the satellite, and the rest of these we're going to add on some antennas. The rest of these things you can make them up. You can make changes for creative thinking changes, but I'm going to follow this pattern fairly well. You can see I've got little stars in the background. We'll fool with all that later. Oh yeah, and when I do the Earth this time, I'm just going to start like right there and make like I'm going to make a big gigantic letter C, and I'm just going to show part of the edge of the Earth. And I don't know, this might be North America. If it was, you'd have Alaska up in here and some of the North Pole there and the west coast of North America. I'm not going to put a lot of detail in that right now. I'll go up here and work on the satellite. I'm just kind of saving out this space for later. You could also put a little piece of the sun in there, or another small planet off in the distance somewhere. All right, let's start putting some detail on our satellite. This is not going to take as long as it looks. I'm going to start by putting some of these pieces up through here. Let's see, I'm going to go on top of my circle, and I'm going to put a rectangle right over top of the circle like this. I'm going to hook on about there. I'm going to go up about a finger. I'll make this into a rectangle with square corners, which are 90-degree right angles, by the way. A square corner is a 90-degree right angle. That's for later in school when you learn geometry, and someday it'll be important. Right now I just want you to have a rectangle above your circle. And then I think I'll go above that rectangle. I'm just going to lengthen this out a little bit on the ends. And here's where you can make creative changes. You don't have to do yours exactly like mine. Skip about a finger once again, go up, make another rectangle here. And I think on top of that, I'll put this little rainbow shape right in there. You can follow along or you can make some creative changes. And one thing I noticed when we were looking at those pictures from the NASA channel, which is where I got all that video footage, by the way, these things have all kinds of little tags on them. I guess with instructions to the scientists on the ground that are making the settings on them, and they have all kinds of little pieces that stick out, and some of them are antennas. Like this is maybe an antenna. Some of it is tubing. Some of it are some of these are little rocket ports that allow them to move the satellite around by putting thrust on one of these little jets. I'll show you, for example, we could go right in here. What you do is you make a triangle up against it like this. And although you can't see, let's see. Let's put a little tiny rectangle there. These things are hooked on to the sides of the satellite in many different positions, and they can put power on this, and it makes a little bit of a thrust that'll twist or turn the satellite to orient it. That means turn it the direction they want it to turn. All right, let's see. Let's put some antennas here and there. Go ahead and put another one there. I think I'm going to put an antenna going this way. I'll try to match it over here. A lot of these, they're not perfectly symmetrical in every case, but a lot of them, the basic parts, a lot of times they're made symmetrical on a satellite. These are details, so if you make yours a little bit different, it's just really not going to hurt anything. All right, I'm going to work on the bottom just a little bit. I'm going to put a different shape on the bottom. I'm going to come down, hook on here. I'm going to go this direction and this direction. Now I've got my paper turned. You can see the edges. I've got this turned so that it's kind of flat in front of me. And I think I'll put a straight piece across here. Now there's probably no satellite in the whole world or above the world that looks like this, but it could. I think I'll put another antenna coming off this way. I love the antennas. They make it look cool. You see all this little detail stuff? You can change that anyway. It won't hurt a thing. And I've got all the major parts now. Here's something I'm going to try to do. I don't know if it'll work out very well. I'm going to try to make another circle just inside this one. See if I can hold the space the same. Now you might not want to do this if you have trouble keeping a space the same all the way around like this. Then it's going to make it look worse than it's going to make it look worse and not better. Ooh, even mine's not so good. But it gives me a place to put some little detailed designs, which I love. Just spacing these out all around. It's kind of like spokes on a wheel, only they're extremely short. This is where you can do all kind of creative changes. You don't have to copy me on this. While I'm working on that, I'll tell you, I have a laptop computer that I carry with me on trips, and I attach a cable to the laptop computer, and the cable runs to a little component that lays on the dash, and it gets a signal from some of these satellites, very much like what you're looking at right here. They're GPS tracking satellites, and It sends the signal into my laptop. My laptop has a map, and it shows me where I am on the map. So that if I go to a new place and I want to find a location, I can watch my car. It's not, you don't see the car, but you see a little triangle on the screen, and it shows me the direction my car is moving along the road. It tells me how fast I'm going. I can talk to my computer, and it will tell me where I am, what county I am in, what interstate I'm on. It'll tell me how fast I'm going. I can ask it those questions, and it will answer me. So it's pretty cool. I'm just making up stuff right in here while I'm telling you about my GPS tracker on my that I use on trips. Put some more of these power ports. And one time I was in a very large city. It's called San Antonio, Texas. And I came out from a convention center, and I wanted to find a McDonald's for a late night snack. And so I typed in McDonald's, and the GPS tracker communicated with a database which stores information. And it found about 10 McDonald's in San Antonio and showed me where they were on the map. So it was really cool. All I had to do then was just follow the line. It drew a line from where I was to the McDonald's that I chose. I just pointed to one of them, clicked on it, it showed me, it drew a line to it, showed me what road to take, and it talked to me on the way and told me when to make turns. So it's pretty cool stuff. Anyway, I'm not saying much about what I'm drawing because I'm just making stuff up. I'm just putting details on this. It could be any kind of detail. You can follow along exactly with mine, or you can make up your own stuff. I'm just trying to do stuff to make it look cool. And complex, like you would expect a piece of scientific equipment to be. Some of these represent tubes, some represent buttons, some represent hubs. And I also have some really good pictures of the International Space Station. And I'm thinking about maybe making one of those into a drawing someday. Not anytime soon, I don't guess, but the space station is a really cool place. All right. You know, I've got more detail on this one, more tubes and so forth, but we're running just a little bit short on time now. I mean, we're in good shape, but I don't want to run out of time. So we'll do a few more little tubes and pipes. Then I want to work on the solar panels for just a minute. And I'll put those pictures back up in a minute, but you'll see the solar panels are usually like this in a grid. They're gridded off, and a lot of times they'll have markings all over them. I'm not sure what all those different components on the solar grid do, but they all work together to take energy from the sun. They convert sunlight into electricity, and they send that to batteries. The batteries store the energy, and then the energy is sent to the different pieces of equipment on the satellite, and that's how they operate. Now I'm just gridding off. A grid is just lines that go one way and then they're crossed with lines that go another way. I'm just gridding off this satellite panel, the solar panel. And here's a chance or an opportunity for you to try to make really, really neat straight lines without a ruler. Of course, I don't care if you have a ruler. I don't care for you to use it for your straight lines. But now we're running out of time. There would also maybe be some extra little pieces, wires and stuff on this. I'm not going to get into too much detail on that because that could take a while. And what I want to do is go ahead and get the other panel gridded in. And I want to put those NASA pictures back up for you to look at so that you can get some ideas about color, and also maybe you want to go back, you might want to add some more detail. I don't know that make it any better or not, but anyway, I'm going to put those photographs up, work on this solar panel, play you some music, and I hope that was fun.